We're going to introduce smell-o-vision here on StreamerSquare. So yeah.
I'm working on that.
Oh man. So you guys, like you guys mentioned, you guys run a show here on StreamerSquare called Your Brand, Your Business that focuses on the business aspect of streaming. And you guys have talked a bit about work-life balance in the past. What kind of things have you guys touched on? And what are some things that you guys want to cover in today's show with, two people that stream full-time and also take on a ton of other projects?
Hi.
Two people who burn the wick from both ends.
So today we have probably a good case study on people who have the worst work-life balance on Twitch. But specifically on Your Brand, Your Business, the thing that we were talking about, we just finished a tax theme because it was tax month. We're getting back into our business hygiene theme now. And when we talk about business hygiene, it's a term that Galen introduced to me, which I am very grateful for, because I think it's wonderful in that it talks about a lot of things naturally, right? So when you have to practice good hygiene for yourself, that's like, bathing, make sure you smell nice, make sure you have a haircut so you look presentable, and also so go see the doctor, get your physical, so everything's in good shape. Business hygiene is exactly the same thing. We talked about business hygiene practices before of organization, of developing relationships, of developing your own business philosophy. So then today we wanted to talk about a business hygiene practice of work-life balance. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and I know for everybody else here on the show, especially because our show, Your Brand, Your Business, was kind of born out of a panel that we did at TwitchCon this previous year with Galen, and Hunter was actually a guest on that panel also, and he was there speaking specifically about the personal aspects and issues that you have when, as a content creator, you decide to go full time. So when we were talking about a business hygiene, a business habit of work-life balance, we talked about it as a habit because it's required that you need to do something like between 21 days or 200 something days of it doing it consistently for it to actually become a habit, so it becomes something that you do regularly and just kind of naturally. And Galen can talk more about that also, but that's why we wanted to talk about the practice of work-life balance, not just the the idea of it. And it's something that Galen and I also deal with. Well, we're not streamers necessarily, or we are familiar with work-life balance also because as self-employed individuals, and really all content creators are self-employed individuals, there is a lot that goes into it. So, I made fun of Hunter and Loco being case studies, but really it applies to all of us, because I know Galen and I really have a bad time of kind of turning off.
It's true that there's something that one of my philosophy professors talked about a lot, which was habits to habitats. The habitat that you find yourself involved in and affect yourself dramatically pushes back and affects your habits for your engagement in that locality. For broadcasters and for the self-employed, I think that continues to be true in a kind of a unique way, because you don't go to another place where somebody else is keeping it up. You don't go to another place where there are people who are paid to kind of structure it. There's no like engineering for it. Like, you are responsible for all that work yourself, just in terms of the environment that you put yourself in. And we tend to work we overwork. We work because we see all the responsibility for ourselves producing the benefit that we're going to see in the future, and we want to drive really hard for that. So we end up, as you were saying, the hours that you put in develops the habit. We not only have that locality habitat to habit relationship, but we tend to overwork to the point that the other things fall away, and our primary habits are the work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the nature. And that's kind of like what I wanted to start with. So that's good that you brought that up, because it's like, why is work-life balance so hard, especially for content creators? And it's because it's like, you always have to be connected, right? Like, as a content creator, you're your own boss. You grow by growing your social media. So not only, Twitch itself is a grind, but you also have Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you have to use all of these tools and be constantly connected with your audience 24/7, or at least it feels that way.
Discord's built to give you that on purpose.
Absolutely.
Right? Like the whole point of Discord is to give even that extra bit of connection afterwards for your community as a whole, yes, but also you, right? You're that name in the different color right at the top of the list. So that even is that little like bit extra of engagement that you are supposed to have. And obviously you can have like a mod team that helps out a lot with that, but still, it's your brand, right?
Yeah.
You are the business.
Galen makes fun of me for saying this, but one of the phrases we like to repeat on your brand, your business is "you are the goods," right? And I'm not meaning that you're like out there hawking yourself to the different people, but really you are
sell out streamer,
right? Yeah. So, and that's kind of I think Hunter's point was really great, that you bring up the habitat and the habit dichotomy there. Your habitat of being a content creator is that you have to be out there all the time, right? So you are ever present there, because if you're not streaming, then you're keeping in touch on social media. If you're not on social media, you're designing merchandise for people that you can be in touch with you, right? So that's essentially, you are the goods. And it's a corny saying, but that's true, right? And that's why work-life balance is so important, because as the goods, you have to maintain, you have to make sure that everything is in working order. That this is getting weirder and weirder, but you have to
don't want to ship a weird broken product, right? Essentially.
Yeah, completely agreed. Well, and one big thing I think on work-life balance too is figuring out what balance means for you. Because, I don't think balance is like 12 hours on, 12 hours off. It's balanced, right? It's what keeps you fresh. And I know I have an uncle who's a very successful restaurateur, and he and Loco work very similarly, where they, at least from what I've observed with Loco, where they work insane hours for a long period of time on some project. They finish it, and then they scale back dramatically. So for him, it's getting a new restaurant open where he's working 18 hours a day for a year and a half.
All on.
And then he goes and like takes a 3-month break where he's like checking in occasionally with his managers, but isn't there. But like that balance wouldn't work for me. I would break before that year and a half was done and that restaurant was up and running on its own and things like that. But for him, it works really well.
So that's a matter of knowing yourself for that.
Split. Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting thing. Sorry, go on.
I mean, no, I was just going to say, because, you're talking about like what my balance is, and it's something that I'm learning about and trying to be better at. Like, I didn't realize like that was how my work-life balance was to be. I always thought, as a streamer, I always took a day off. Every single day or every single week, I'd have one day off to decompress. Well, it turned out that I wasn't decompressing on those days most of the time. I was just working that day off.
Off camera.
Right. Like, and then I would, I get very into projects. I'm always coming up with new ideas. And I get very excited and very motivated. And I literally will just sit in my computer from morning until I go to bed at like 1 a.m. I'll wake up at like 8 and just work all day. And I love it. And I wake up every morning and I'm excited and I'm like ready to do this. And I'm so passionate. And then there's just this period where I'm just like, I'm not happy right now, and I don't feel like doing anything. Yeah. And it's not even something that I recognize with my mood all the time, but it's my energy. Like, I'll just be fatigued for no reason. I'll be like, I'm not hungry. I don't have an appetite. I just want to sleep or lay down, and I don't have any energy to do anything. And I'm still trying to figure out work-life balance. It's still a learning thing, but recognizing that I am going to be very motivated for this amount of time, and I am going to expect to fall off for like a week or two afterwards is something that I'm trying to embrace and plan around to be better at.
So do you have to capitalize on that? Do you have to, when you see the inspiration happening, do you feel like you have to jump on that and use that as much as you can?
Yes, that is the problem, is that I'm like, I'm so motivated right now. Why wouldn't I do work? I want to. So why would I stop?
Yeah. I mean, but that's fair. And part of that too is also just like, we said the knowing yourself, knowing your patterns over the long term, but even in a day, like for me, I'm really productive in the morning, and then 2 or 3 in the afternoon comes around and I'm really not achieving much unless I'm on a call like this, right? If I have someone who's engaging with me and I'm talking with them and it's something like that. So I try I try to schedule my calls in the afternoon, because if it's with that other person, then I'm fine, I'm keeping going and things like that. But if it's like, hey, Galen, write up that client case study that you were going to put on your website. I've had that on my calendar for the last couple of afternoons and haven't, made much progress on it. But then I'm also usually good again to do some work from 7 to 10. So like at night, right?
Like a second win somewhere in there to
exactly.
Yeah.
So like there's some days where my wife has things that she does at night. She sings in a choir, that kind of thing. And when she's gone at those, a lot of times I'm sitting here working, and gladly. And one thing I had to recognize from that is not only that that's when I'm more effective at doing work, but that it also was okay that I was playing Into the Breach at 3 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, if I wasn't going to be active and really like doing something great, that's the time I should pick to listen to. I have a couple podcasts I listen to that are all my industry, but I really love them. They're like, I enjoy listening to them. Maybe then at 3, I go on a walk and listen to that podcast instead of just sitting at my desk and trying to grind through something. Or maybe that's the time where I load up Into the Breach and shout at bugs because they're destroying me, but like I'm having fun doing it, right? As opposed to like trying to force it to be work time.
Yeah, which I think it's
hard. You can do when you're self-employed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, and I was going to say that I think